Welcome to First Church Guilford Online. Those who will be joining us this Sunday, October 4th, here in the sanctuary, will be those who've experienced a significant grief, a loss of a family member, a friend, someone important to them in the last 3 years. In this service, there will be signs of bereavement, care, and reflection from our Reverend Dr. Ginger Brasher Cunningham, lead minister. Our scripture for this morning comes to us from the book of Philippians, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "I thank my God every time I remember you." May God grant us wisdom and understanding of this passage.
My article for the Steeple this week was entitled, "Grief is Murky." After it came out, I saw 2 typos. I thought, how on earth could I have missed that? It was not like my usual confusion around the words that and which, or my dyslexic self-flipping of the letters. I left off ing off walking and dancing. Then it struck me. I wasn't just writing about grief, I was feeling it. I cannot count how many times I have said to people, be gentle with yourself when grieving. I have cautioned that they may be foggy, miss things, and that feelings may come out sideways. I guess now I need to add that in grieving, we may miss using the correct part of speech as well. As we know, grief is not clear-cut. We all wander around in its muddy waters. A memory, a place, a moment, a date, a season can spark our feelings of loss and longing to have that tangible relationship restored. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, in her book On Death and Dying, offered us ways to understand and perhaps better manage, if you will, our grief. She named 5 stages of grief: denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Now, of course, they are not necessarily experienced in the same order. They have a way of swirling about, up and down and all around us. And through the years, people have started looking at the 5 stages and realizing that there are more stages. We've added one particularly that speaks to me. It's that of gratitude. When we research and when we reach that unique place of feeling thankful that we have loved enough to ache for one who has died, we encounter a type of sweet sorrow. Everyone who experiences it knows when that odd moment comes. Suddenly, the severity of the ache of getting through the day morphs into a type of dearness, if you will. The missing remains while the comfort of love fills the spirit like a strange, invisible blanket. And at that crossroads, the gratitude for the love that has been, that is, and will always be, wraps us up in a new step of thanksgiving. Now, our scripture today, Philippians 1:3 that Jake read, "I thank my God every time I remember you," comes to mind when that shift occurs. While this verse is actually part of an ongoing interaction between Paul and the people of Philippi, we can certainly connect with it as well. One commentator reminds that this chapter is about relationship, which is what we're talking about when we're grieving, about relationship. Those whom we love that we cannot have in our lives anymore. Now, like Paul's epistles, he generally begins with salutations and then prayer. The author reflects that in this intro, the very beginning is a long gush of love. What a great line, a long gush of love. Many suggest these early verses in the first chapter of Philippians paint a picture of the relationship between teacher and community, or friendship and love, all of which are sustained by faith. And certainly those whom we miss today have been our teachers of and our students in life. Our community and our relationships are all connected to our faith that grounds us in love and calls us together. Now, there is another avenue we acknowledge. Even in grief, we recognize painful aspects of life. The words that were harsh, the actions that were damaging, the dreams that were lost, and the amends that were not made are all part of the mix. We hold all these tensions together as we walk the path of sorrow, and we must release the what-ifs as we search for lessons learned and the moments of love. One winter, I stood over a grave with my friend. She watched her father's casket as it was lowered into the ground. Then she looked back up at me. Calmly, she said, "He can no longer hurt me." Although he abused her throughout her growing up years, she cared for him on his deathbed. She said that she grieved the loss of her innocence, but not the loss of her kindness to a weakened, elderly, and despicable person. Grief is not always born out of longing for someone we miss. Grief slaps us as the past traumas emerge. Grief comes as we long for the healthy love that was never given. Grief is complex, profound, and must be addressed. It will always come out sideways. However, the more we examine it, the more we engage it, the more we can understand it. I thank my God when I remember you. Certainly, we can offer thanks for the most loving connections in our lives. And eventually, we can make meaning out of the most challenging bonds that we've experienced. For all these relationships make us who we are. Now, as we ponder our individual journeys, we have the opportunity to learn how to support others who know the ache of loss and longing. For example, we have a group of people who knit prayer shawls and a committee who prays over each one for all who will receive it. Some deliver meals to those grieving, and others plant trees in honor of those who have died. Our resources and our ways to comfort one another have certainly shifted during these past 6 months of COVID time. We now rely on prayers and notes and text and gestures of love and calls as we maintain physical distance. We as a people embody grief as we restrain ourselves from embracing each other. These are days of separation and they're challenging. From the color of together, my spouse Milton wrote a poem and a book about sharing this journey of grief. Please listen to the poem with an ear to hear, well, actually see the images in a physically appropriate distanced setting. We have learned to be creative in many ways. Let's try this one too. He writes, solstice. Come sit in the dark with me and look at that moon that is so at home in the night. Let us reach deep into our pockets of our souls for scraps of hope and wonder. Come, look at the firefly, stars flinging their light. Lay back on the blanket of dead leaves and sleeping soil. Would that have a ladder to make a consolation of ourselves? Come, sing our favorite song softly into the silent night that welcomes the first day of winter, the one about being together no matter what. Yes, that one. Come. Sit in the dark with me. There is a magic in sitting under the night sky. The surrounding darkness and the stars that dot the air remind us of the vast spectrum and continuation of life. In Scripture, we read that Jesus said, "I am with you until the end of the ages." I think about love like that, those whom we love, those whom we remember, those who dwell in our hearts, are with us always.
I've been down this road before. I remember every tree, every single blade of grass holds a special place for me. And I remember every room, every hotel room, every single song I sang on a guitar out of tune. I remember everything, the things I can't forget. The way you turned and smiled at me on the night that we first met. I remember every night, your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. I've been down this road before, alone as I can be, careful not to let my past go sneaking up on me. Got no future in my happiness, though regrets are very few. Sometimes a little tenderness is the best that I could do. I remember everything, the things I can't forget. The swimming pools and butterflies that slip right through the net. I remember every night, your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew.